well as our other commissioners and our staff with us this afternoon. And I would just like to encourage all of our speakers this afternoon to speak directly into the mic because our proceedings are recorded and we want to ensure that we have excellent sound quality. The Historic Preservation Commission is a 9-member board appointed by the City Council and serves on a voluntary basis without compensation. The purposes of the commission are to promote the educational, cultural, economic, and general welfare of the city through the preservation and protection of buildings, sites, structures, areas, and districts of historic significance and interest through the preservation and enhancement of local historic, architectural, archaeological, and aesthetic heritage found in the city through the maintenance of the distinctive character of the city's historic districts and through the promotion and enhancement of the city's historic and aesthetic attraction to tourists and visitors. I'd like to take this opportunity to ask the other members of the Historic Preservation Commission to introduce themselves, and we'll start from the audience right and my left.
Kamala Broadnax.
Carol King.
Dallas Hanbury.
Brian Mann.
To our other commissioners this afternoon, you have a copy of the minutes of the meeting for July. The chair will now entertain a motion regarding the adoption of the minutes of that meeting.
I move that we adopt the minutes.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second that we adopt the minutes of the July meeting. Is there any unreadiness? All those in favor, let it be known by a show of hands. Motion carried. Thank you very much. As we examine our agenda for this afternoon, we have as our first item of business the establishment of Historic Application Review Committee, and we need some persons to serve for the fall of 2020 and for the spring of
2021.
Yes.
Sorry. Time warp. We're going back.
That's perfectly all right. And for the spring of 2020, and we need 3 members and an alternate for each season. So do we have, first of all, some persons who would like to volunteer? Yes. Ms. Broadnax, 1. Okay, 2. Ms. King, and...
Go ahead and put me down.
Okay, that's 3. And what about 1 alternate? We're talking about the fall of 2020. 1 alternate? Yes, we have 1 alternate, okay? Let's look at the spring of 2021. Want to make sure we put 2021 here. I guess we have to have some of the same people. We will have an overlap, yes.
Well, I think it might be helpful to have 1 overlap.
Oh.
For someone who's been through the process to help shepherd. So if Carol wants to be the overlap, then I guess Brian and James Long, or you, Dr. Bailey, could be the other.
Yeah.
I'd like to serve as an alternate for 2021.
Okay.
Or 20.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So
okay.
Carol, do you want to be the overlap?
Yeah, I will.
And then by default, that leaves Brian and James. I handed, in your packet, you had gotten everything that we've posted on the website, and I realized when I was going through, you got a handout, the evaluation form that I've been working on. When I was working through our evaluation criteria, I realized that we left out wall material. So I need to make that change to update that as part of the evaluation information. And for those of you who weren't here when we had an active sign program, I would go out and take photographs. We'd get an application. I'd take photographs of the property, and I would write up the physical description of the building. So this evaluation form is not something that you all are going to have to fill out. It will be something that when I have an application, and we do have applications for our September 1 deadline,
Yeah, that was my question.
I will complete these forms for each property and take photographs, and it will be part of a packet that comes to you to evaluate. And how we decide to do that, or y'all decide to do that as a committee, is up to you. I mean, it's probably something that we could send the packets out and do it through Zoom or WebEx or something. So we can sort that out later, but that can be discussed amongst the committee members. But you'll get something, this will be filled out for you with photographs and then kind of any other notes of things that I note that may not be covered under that, so.
Okay, thank you, Christy. To our other commissioners, is there anyone who has a question regarding the powers and duties, the design guidelines, or anything that you want to raise at this point? Anyone has any question? Ms. Broadnix, are you clear?
Yes.
You are?
I'm clear.
Oh, you're clear. All right. Is there anyone else anyone who has a question or concern? Well, just some reaction, some reflection.
Christy, you do have some sign applications already?
I do.
Are they the people that had wanted them before, too?
No,
Okay. Oh, that's interesting.
they're
Great.
just kind of trickling in through the mail.
Okay. So there's somebody's reading their...
Somebody's reading.
Yeah, well, I think we hit them twice. We did we did the Historic Neighborhood Blast, which goes to their contacts.
And the city's public
Correct.
relations and
Yeah.
communications folks were
Good.
going to do a push for it as well. So,
Okay. Well, good.
Okay?
and of course, everybody waits till the last minute, so I don't really expect to see
Yeah, I got one.
flood of them until
Is
end of
this,
August.
Application that's online, is it word friendly? I mean, is it one of those manipulatable?
It's a PDF. I
Okay.
do not have the power to create a fillable PDF, but someone in the office might. I'd have to check on that.
That was just kind of the question. I mean,
I don't have the super Adobe program.
yeah, you got to.
But there are folks who do, so I don't know how that.
Because you'd probably rather have it all printed up nicely, but okay.
Okay, anything else? We're now down to other business.
Oh, let me say one thing about the design guidelines. It's another one of those things that, because at least at this juncture we're still working remotely part-time, that I have uninterrupted chunks of time where I can work on this at home. I did a draft years and years ago, and it needs to be updated. And then I think we'll do get input from the neighborhoods. We may want to, in lieu of having one of our regular meetings, we may need to do kind of a dog and pony show at neighborhood meetings, because 2 of the neighborhoods meet on the second Tuesday of the month, and we can't do both. So once we have a draft of guidelines to review, we may need to go out and talk to them and get some feedback and make adjustments before we finalize anything.
Okay. Let's talk about the First Presbyterian Church.
I think it's still in negotiations.
They have delayed their request to demolish that was to come before the Architectural Review Board. So they're still talking,
They're still talking.
as far as I know.
All right. Carol, is there anything at Landmarks Foundation regarding First Presbyterian Church that you feel the people need to know about?
No, I mean, other than they're doing some negotiating.
Okay. Okay. All right. Krista, how do you see the signs? Are we looking good? Should we be pessimistic? Should we be holding on to our chairs, etc.?
For
First Presbyterian.
I know that First Baptist is looking at another facility for their caring center, which would seem to indicate that they're less wed to the idea of needing to use that particular piece of property in terms of demolition and replacement of a building. So I don't know if they've finalized any of those arrangements, but I know that they were looking at another piece of property around downtown that they thought might suit their needs with some modification. So
Okay.
I would say that all hope is not lost yet.
Okay.
that.
That's good. That's real good. All right. Thank you so much. Is there any thing else? Anybody has anything going on in your neighborhoods or your organization you'd like to bring to the attention of this body?
I have a couple of more things. I know Carol's going to want to announce her book,
All right, sure.
but I've got a couple of things. I gave you all a handout on window maintenance, repair, and replacement that we're going to put out under your name as part of our educational programming that I hope will demystify some issues with windows. If you have any comments, Carol's looked at it and Paula's looked at it, and I figured I'd ask one person who's sort of familiar with windows and one person who's not familiar with windows to see if what I was saying made sense on both fronts.
You know, I especially like the names on the,
Yeah.
I like that.
So yeah, the diagram of the window. Yeah. So we're putting that up. I also got a call. I spoke with Mr. Roosevelt Petaway, who owns the property at 473 South Decatur Street, which was the Lauren Cleaners. He is interested in, when we first spoke, I thought he just wanted recognition and kind of found out whether or not it was in the survey that was done for Centennial Hill, and it was, but that project is several years down the road. But when we spoke again, he says he wants to protect it, and he owns it. He owns the property. He said that it does have civil rights associations to it, so I've sent him some information on what our process is. So if anybody has any information about the family who ran the business or anything that might have happened at that location, I do not know what he has, if anything, but it's since we're not relying on architecture on this building, we are going to have some things we can document in order to meet the standards for recommending a historic designation.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Anybody else?
Christy, you got a sign back that said Restoration of the Month?
Yeah.
Okay, so we had one of the new designs Christy had made for Restoration of the Month, so we need to start looking each month for someone to acknowledge. And what is your agenda deadline every month?
Usually the week after this meeting. So
like
I think
Monday
like
next
for
week.
Monday next week is
Okay.
my deadline for September.
Okay, so just kind of keep an eye out for businesses or residential, and it doesn't, it doesn't have to be in a historic neighborhood, but I kind of hate to go down that route if it's not. But so just keep an eye out to see if someone in your neighborhood's doing some interesting work, a good restoration project.
Right.
I might suggest that if it's not in a historic neighborhood, that perhaps it needs to be in a high visibility area where the restoration has a very strong visual impact on where it is. Versus, tucked
Yeah.
away somewhere that nobody's ever going to see that restoration of the month sign. I think there are probably other ways to draw attention to those sorts of activities.
Christy, do we have any of these left over that we can just leave out front? Do we have some?
I
that
mean, we can print more of them.
Right. I think it would be a good idea, especially when people come to city council meetings and some of the other auxiliaries that we have. If we just had some of those out there, they could just take with them.
Yeah, we can see if we can leave those up there. We certainly did that when we had our. I think we left those up there for the preservation leadership class when
Okay.
we had the registration flyer.
Right. Okay. All right. Anything else? Anybody has anything going on in your neighborhood, your organization, you just want to bring to our attention?
Dr.
Carol,
Bailey, I
sure.
just wanted to, Classic Restaurants of Montgomery launches next Thursday. It's a history press book, and it's a survey of historic restaurants in Montgomery from before Montgomery was a city in 1819 up until somewhat currently. There's a launch, and everybody got one of these. It's an invitation to the launch next Thursday night from 5 to 7, and it'll be in the workyard behind Lucas Tavern at 310 North Hull Street. So it's got lots of interesting images as well as lots of history and oral histories were a really big resource on this. We had a great research assistant in Martin McCaffrey, who is a newspaper researcher and could really land a lot of information for us through his reading through the newspapers on his theater research. And also Bro Grift from Montgomery Advertiser, by letting us get into the advertiser archives too, we were able to really get some really nice images to be able to use in this book too. So it's a nice survey of Montgomery's rich restaurant history.
Okay, Carol, if you'll just, first of all, tell us who the authors are, the price, and where they can get a copy if they're not able to visit with you all next Thursday.
Okay, the author is Karen Pell and me, Carol King, and it's published by History Press. They will be available after Thursday night at Lucas Tavern, 310 North Hull Street. Probably the local bookstore, which the only one I can think of that's open is Books A Million. Books, sorry. Yeah, Books A Million at East Chase, yeah, whichever one that is. Yeah, you could probably get online, but it's nice to support your local book dealer, so.
And what's the price?
Oh, it's $21.99 plus tax.
Okay.
If you're not able to come to the launch, you also can go to landmarksfoundation.com and actually order one for yourself too. But we'll be autographing and, signing them and autographing them for gifts and
Okay.
things like that Thursday night.
All right, good enough. You about to say something? Oh, okay. All right. Anybody else? Anything you want to add? All right. Just like to thank our associates from the City of Montgomery, Ms. Paula Wade, Mrs. Christy Anderson, and Mr. Mike Mann for taking time out to come with us every second Tuesday. Just want to let you know how much we appreciate it. And there being no further business, the meeting is hereby adjourned.